Hey, friends, it's 9 o'clock. It's the day before Halloween. Why aren't you guys at a Halloween party or something? I, anyway, well, hello there, Big Zebra and David and Brainbug. What are we doing here tonight? Well, I thought, hey, I'm not going to any Halloween parties either. I'm just hanging out here. So I thought I would.
I think she's all done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, we're done there.
Mhm.
Okay, so anyway, I thought I would just blow off the evening and just chat to a few people and see what's happening out there. And just to provide a little structure, I thought, this past week I've been sitting around uh, while I'm doing my work with horror movies on TV or on my computer, and I thought I'd just talk about them. And anyway, as you might guess, the theme for my week of horror movies was spiders. Because what else do you do? And hello, Thomas. I see you made it. So anyway, what I'm going to do, just to add a little structure, I will be talking about these spider movies a little bit and rating them and ranking them and all that kind of stuff. But you guys feel free to chime in if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you want to make any recommendations for better movies, because some of the stuff I watched today was this past week was total crap, as you might guess. Okay, so let's dive in. I'll start talking about some of these spider movies. The first thing I've got to mention some honorary mentions here. These are movies that weren't horror movies about spiders, but still spiders play a starring role. They appear very prominently, and well, at least to my mind, any movie with a spider in it jumps out at me anymore. So, like for instance, this one. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this one. Oh, hey, Phoenix Marine. Glad to see you made it. So, one movie that I remember vividly from my childhood was The Incredible Shrinking Man, which came out in 1957, which happens to be the year I was born. So, I just remember being rapt watching this thing because it's got some interesting philosophical viewpoints. It's about a guy who shrinks. We do not understand the physics of this, but he just gradually shrinks. Hello, Rory Cats. Oh, Rory Cats. You shouldn't watch this because there's also a scene in The Incredible Shrinking Man where there's a cat that tries to eat our hero. Anyway, he fights off a spider with a pin, and then he keeps on shrinking until he vanishes off into the cosmos. So that was that story. Oh yes, Thomas mentions also The Fly. Yes, that again, Spider was not the star of this movie, but everyone remembers the scene with the fly with the human head caught in the spider web going, help me, and the spider creeping up on it. So yeah, so there's been a few movies where spiders make these grand appearances. Okay, I want to mention another one that came out. So who saw Dune recently? I did. I kind of liked that movie. I thought it was a good movie, a good version of Dune. So I very much enjoyed it. But what I really enjoyed was there was one brief scene that where the Harkonnens, the bad guys, and the Reverend Mother visits them, and she sees this thing in there. So let's see. Start. Isn't that cool?
The thing must leave.
It's a little spider pet that Baron Harkonnen keeps.
Our pet doesn't understand your language.
Get out.
Yeah, I want one. Very cute, very cuddly.
Activate.
Okay, so anyway, yeah, you get the idea. And that was the high point of the movie. Everything else was kind of neat, but this was the big high point of the movie. So if you go to see it, watch out for the spider pet. That's the best thing in it. Okay, worms are pretty good too. Okay, but then the movies I suffered through. So let me talk about a few of these horror movies I watched, and the first batch aren't very good. I'll admit this. I saw a bunch that were just, but there were a couple of golden ones that come up near the end. Okay, so there's one. Does anybody remember seeing Tarantula? This movie from 1955. In the 1950s, there was a whole wave of giant bug movies and giant monster movies. Probably the best of them was Them with the giant ants, but there was also this one with the giant spider. And surprising, oh, Lizzie Thomas asked, did I suffer through the web? I actually showed the you were too late. I showed the video at the beginning. So it was there. Anyway, so Tarantula. This is the promotional poster for it. And the tarantula looks nothing like this. Apparently they had a mock-up dummy of a giant spider that they trotted around to advertise the show, which looked kind of like this, which is crap. What I really liked about Tarantula is that it's got some spectacular atmosphere. It's a black and white movie. It is, in this case, the reason we get giant tarantulas is something that's really common in the giant spider movies and all the monstrous spider movies is there's a mad scientist. Yeah, so this is our mad scientist. He's experimenting, and they always have the same excuse. Yeah, they're doing good for mankind. They're making these giant creatures to better feed humanity. Yeah, and somehow, yeah, so for instance, this guy, he's got a giant mice, he's got a giant guinea pig, and for some reason he makes a giant tarantula. I can't quite imagine that being a popular food source. But okay, so he makes a giant tarantula. His little formula has a side effect on people. Here's another weird thing about this movie. He's doing these experiments. He's injecting all these experimental animals, making them grow giant. And somehow all of his lab assistants get injected with this stuff. I'm sure it was entirely by accident, right? Yeah, the opening scene of the movie is one of his lab assistants coming out. And unfortunately, it has a different effect on humans for some reason. It gives them acromegaly. So they get these really distorted faces, which the makeup job on those was pretty good. But still, why it gave people acromegaly and everything else just gets bigger and bigger, I don't know. Oh yes, Big Zebra mentions the giant spider invasion. Yeah, the one with Ellen Hale. Yeah, that one was cheesy. Really, really cheap spiders. Okay. Anyway, so this mad scientist does all this stuff. One of his assistants gets his revenge by attacking him and injecting the mad scientist with his own formula and then conveniently dying. But it's irrelevant. The mad scientist has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. But this is what I like about it. The movie is largely made by macro photography, film photography of tarantulas. They just photograph tarantulas and then superimpose them on the landscape, and it looks pretty good actually. I kind of was. It's like I said, it's got this kind of moody atmosphere to it when the giant tarantula is actually on. So that was a good thing. Another neat thing I liked about it is the good guys all investigate the scenes of the spider's kill, and there's things like dead horses everywhere and dead people and all this stuff. And they find these huge white blotches all over the place. And I was pretty sure that had to be spider poop, okay? But no, the movie says it's spider venom. Don't you believe it? It's actually spider poop. And of course, our hero there, the town doctor, has to taste it, which gave me a little thrill. So he's running around nibbling on spider poop. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, the giant tarantula is wandering around. They've got to kill it. Of course, they've got to kill it. They bring in the army and the air force, and this is the sad fate of the giant tarantula: is they napalm it. The last 5 or 10 minutes is basically nothing but an advertisement for the Air Force. They come swooping in and fire rockets at which do nothing, but then they drop napalm on it. It catches fire, and the poor tarantula dies. It's a sad ending. Anyway, okay, so that's the tarantula. It's a classic. Yeah, I thought that one was kind of worth watching just for the historical value. Just to categorize each of these movies, I'll give a category to. In this one, the size of the spider is humongous, as you saw in the previous image. It just looms over the landscape. So a giant spider. There's only one. This is going to be a difference from some of the other movies. What makes it? Well, it's a mad scientist, and it's taking advantage of something they got from the space program or outer space or something. I have a category here, accuracy in quotes. It's not really accuracy because by default, a movie about a giant spider prowling around killing people isn't accurate. That's not how spiders are. I'm just going by the anatomy, okay? It's got nice close-ups of this tarantula. And I know it looks realistic because it is. They actually just photographed a tarantula. I wish more movies would do that. None of the other movies, well, except with the exception of one that I'll show you, does that. So it's a classic movie. I will recommend it. You know, 2 thumbs up. Go see this one. And it's short. It's like an hour and a quarter. Yeah. Okay. Next movie is not a classic. This is called something called Spiders. Just Spiders. That's why I watched it. Okay. And it's cheap. It's cheesy. It's really bad. It starts with a few photos of spiders that they're maintaining in the lab. And that's kind of the end of it. What happens is I see this, astronauts go up in the space shuttle and they're doing experiments. They're injecting tarantulas for some reason with something mysterious. And they are hit by a solar flare just as they're injecting the poison or mutagen or whatever it is. And it turns the tarantulas all horrible and monstrous. Then the space shuttle crashes. Boom, it's gone. Only one survivor, this one astronaut. And when they're investigating, of course, a giant spider comes crawling out of his mouth. Makes you want to see it right there, doesn't it? Okay, yeah, in some ways, the spider is not bad. You may notice here in my reviews, all I'm focusing on is the spiders. Don't so much care about the story or anything. It's just, hey, I like to see the spiders. So there's a mygalomorph, at least, of some sort. It's kind of a generic spider. I couldn't tell what species it's supposed to be from the anatomy. And in the end, oh, the poor thing. This is a really murky image, but it's got a typical early 2000s action movie ending where the heroine is dangling from a rope from a helicopter with a rocket launcher, and she fires the rocket right down the throat of the spider, and kerboom, it blows up, and there's nice technicolor splatter of goo everywhere. Again, another sad ending. Poor spider. It really didn't deserve that. Okay, this one, again, we got just one spider. It's a pretty big spider. It's not as big as the one in Tarantula, but it's not bad. Again, it's mad scientist crap that generates it. As for accuracy, I got a clown face here because this thing does not look like a real spider. Nobody bothered to look at spider anatomy for this one, I could tell. Okay. It's just a cheap, cheesy little movie. I don't even, it may even have been direct to television or direct to tape. I don't know. It just yeah, I just turned it on because of the name. Okay. Next one. Would you believe they made a sequel to this piece of crap? And it's called Spiders 2. Spiders 2 has nothing to do with the previous movie. Okay. It doesn't seem to have a single thing to do with it, except that it's got spiders in it, giant spiders, and a mad scientist. This guy, Richard Mole, by the way, who is redefining genetic science. This one we could also call Spiders on a Boat, because he's cruising around on a boat, collecting every people he meets and feeding them to his spiders so they can breed them and all this kind of stuff. So all of the action in this one takes place on a boat with one spider basically coming out and running around. Yes, Phoenix Marine, that's correct. This should have been left at number one. This is just, it took the cheesiness of the previous one and just amplified it. Oh, and it's got the usual thing. It's got, they, like I said, they go around, they collect the crews off of other ships. They intercept other ships, basically pirate them and steal the passengers and bring them on board. And of course, they hate spiders. Foreshadowing, yeah, they hate spiders. All of these people are going to get eaten by spiders. Don't worry. If you hate spiders, that's what happens. Yeah, spiders on a plane would be an interesting concept. I was thinking about that in some of these. Yeah, somebody should do that. Be much more interesting than snakes on a plane. Spiders are sneakier, so they could hide in more places. Anyway, here's our spider. That's horrible. That's just, it's a bad spider. Okay, and it's just running amok on this ship, killing everybody. Just about everybody dies in this one. It even eats his mad scientist creator. Everyone goes, okay. And the end of the movie is the ship sinking. And I think you can just look at this and see the quality of the computer graphics in this movie. Yeah, so there's one giant spider and the others start to hatch out near the end. And then they conveniently blow up the ship and sink it. So that's the end of it. Yeah. Okay, so that's over. But would you believe there is also a Spiders 3? We'll get to that in a moment. Anyway, so we have a pretty good sized spider. We have lots of spiders. Only one really does much in it. The others just sort of eventually hatch out. It's got a mad scientist that creates them. The accuracy is pathetic. I should warn you, there is some nudity in this movie. It's not very titillating. It's not very exciting, but the actor playing the lead shows some breasts. That's about it. Okay. And all of the actors are very hammy. Richard Mole is just over the top, mad scientist, crazy guy sort of story. Okay, anyway, so yes, they came up with another one, Spiders 3D. I did not watch it in 3D. I just watched the flat version. This one, the premise is, once again, there are scientists doing experiments on spiders in outer space, and they're doing these weird things, and then the space lab or the shuttle or whatever, it's Russian, by the way, crashes in New York and smashes down into the subway. So this one is spiders in a subway, Russian spiders in a subway. And the military's after them for whatever they think they are good for. And as you can see from this poster, they're not going to be anatomically accurate either. But here's the kind of scene you see. This is the subway, and there's all these spiders all over the place. So lots and lots of spiders. There's a swarm of spiders everywhere, crawling around, leaving silk, eating subway workers. Yeah, the usual story. And there's a romantic subplot. There's some others. Yeah, never mind. I'm just here for the spiders. And they're not very good spiders. Cheap CGI again. And this is what they look like. Oh man, that's just here's a close-up. Okay, I'm done. Yeah. This is a spider with teeth. Okay. I think you all know that's nowhere close to being anything like anatomically accurate. That is not a spider. I do not know what that is. Anyway, so they got some good sized spiders there. They're growing rapidly after the space shuttle or whatever crashes into the subway. There's a swarm of them. There is also a mad scientist, a Russian mad scientist who's working with them. And it's also rich in conspiracy theories because it's the government that is doing this. The government has this secret plan to breed for some purpose, probably military. They're accurate. Oh, I shouldn't have put that there. That was the wrong one. This should have been another clown. Anyway, yeah, the accuracy is terrible. It's the worst. This one, skip it. Just throw away garbage. Don't watch it. Okay, so then next I fired up this one, which some of you may have seen. It was popular a while back. This is a movie called Big Ass Spider. And that's what it's about. A really big spider. And this is a pest control guy. He's the hero. I guess he's also a comedian of some sort. I didn't find it that funny. And he's got a Mexican assistant. And they're going to run around chasing this spider. Okay. He says spiders happen to be his specialty. Yeah, it's a series of kind of unimpressive jokes, I guess. It's just this guy trying to posture as a comedian. Okay, he's mostly harmless. The spider gets really big. This is probably the biggest spider of the bunch. It rivals the one in Tarantula. So it's growing and growing and growing. It's going to climb up on this building because, if you got a giant monster, you've got to climb up on the tallest building you can find. That's just a rule of horror movies. There are also some baby spiders, but they're all laid up in here and they get blown up early. They appear, they start to hatch out, they die, so they hardly count. It's really just one big ass spider. That's what it's all about. Now, is it anatomically accurate? No, it is not. It is terrible. Again, I don't know what this is. This is they've got this CGI spider in, I don't know if you can see here, but it's got these big claws, and it's also got these little tentacles coming. It makes no sense anatomically. Okay, and here, look at this thing. Okay, he's just finished slaughtering a bunch of people in a park, but these are supposed to be its mouth parts. No, that's not how spider mouth parts work. Where's the chelicerae? No, and those are its eyes. I don't even know how those eyes work. They're red glowing eyes with something sticking out from a mouth. Yeah, and of course it roars. It makes loud noises as it goes. It's scampering all over the place. Um, when I saw this many years ago, it came out in 2013. When I first saw it, I thought it was kind of neat. Okay, it's got a big spider in it. That's enough. But over the years, my tastes have become more refined, and I have higher expectations for my spiders, and this one does not meet them. In addition, the movie has some other problems. Okay, giant spider, that's great. That's a plus. There's just one of them that counts. It's again a product of conspiracy theories. The army's trying to do this thing, and there's a mad scientist involved. The accuracy is awful. That is not a spider. I don't know what that thing is. Some kind of marine worm from the structure of the face. And the other thing that jumped out at me after watching after many years of ignoring it is it's got a lot of jokey sexism and racism. It was driving me nuts. His little assistant is a squirrely Hispanic guy who speaks as broken Spanglish, and that's apparently supposed to be funny. For some reason, these beautiful girls all fall in love with the hero because apparently all you got to do is be macho and the girls fall all over you. So it kind of left an unpleasant taste in my mouth. The end of it, I did not like this movie. Yeah. And maybe it's just because the spider was so horrible, but there were other problems that it had. Okay, next, let's talk about a good one. I like this one's pretty good. It takes a very different approach from all the other movies. So Arachnophobia came out in 1990 with Jeff Daniels as the star, and it's not bad. For one thing, no giant spiders. It does have some unrealistic behavior assigned to the spiders, and they have incredibly toxic venom, which is a little unrealistic. But it's just lots of little spiders scampering around, and that's kind of neat. The spiders themselves, they used Australian huntsman spiders. I recognized them as soon as they were on the screen. So these, again, like tarantula, they're using real spiders and photographing them close up to make them look pretty good. And it's got some moody atmosphere and all that sort of thing. Yeah, the story here is there's no mad scientist. That's another plus. There's no sneaky conspiracy theory by the government. Nope. Instead, what it is, it's kind of an ecological story because it's about a guy who goes down to South America. He's bitten and killed by this incredibly venomous spider, which hitchhikes home to California in the coffin, and then starts spreading out all over and going around killing everything in town. Yeah, so here's one. Isn't that adorable? Nice little flat huntsman spider. I thought that was kind of cute. There's lots of them in this movie. They're just scampering all over the place. Real spiders, which will always win me over. It's a little weird and unrealistic about the spiders because in this story, there's a female spider, one female, and she's a tarantula. And then all the little huntsman spiders are males. And so the story can conclude neatly because once you kill the female and her egg sac, the population dies out. How convenient. Yeah. So there's our egg sac. Isn't that nice? Big gooey egg sac. And here they're starting to hatch out. And they go and ruin it. So it ends. Yeah, spoiler. Here's how Arachnophobia ends, is the hero, Jeff Daniels, sets the mama spider on fire and shoots it with a nail gun. So it goes flying across the room and smacks into the egg sac and sets it on fire, and they all burn down. and everyone except the spiders live happily ever after. Yeah, such a downer. Are we ever going to have one that has a happy ending? No. Okay, but it's not a bad movie. I kind of liked it. I watched this one with my wife, and she liked it too. It wasn't bad. It's all little spiders, so that's very realistic. It's a swarm of them. The cause is they emigrated from a tropical jungle where they were living and being very venomous. And it was anatomically correct. Yeah, couldn't help but be because they're photographing real spiders there. I would say this is the most realistic, but it's not a perfect movie because the behavior is not very realistic. Okay, but then they had to cobble a story together, I guess, with this. I should also warn you, if you watch this one, that in addition to lots of people dying, being bitten by the spider and keeling over with this incredibly potent venom, the spiders also kill a pet dog and a pet cat. So if you're sensitive to that sort of thing, yeah, you might want to skip this one. Poor little kitty cat. Okay, if Rory Katz is still here, sorry, you don't want to watch this one. Just tragic what happens to that cat. And speaking of killing cats, here's the last one I'll mention. This is Eight-Legged Freaks. It's a stupid movie. It really is, but I found it fun and kind of silly, and I kind of enjoyed it. In this one, we start with Taft's exotic spider farm, and it's got a criminally underutilized Tom Noonan, who is the spider keeper Joshua Taft, and he's got this little side mention with swarms and swarms of spiders, and they're all different species, lots of different kinds of spiders. And what happens is that there is a toxic waste spill, and in this toxic waste spill, it releases this green goo that Tom Noonan feeds to his spiders, and it makes them grow. He's so thrilled. They're getting huge. They're gigantic spiders. And initially he's only in the movie for like 5 or 10 minutes before this happens, where one of these spiders jumps on him and bites him and kills him. Yes. Now, if you are an arachnophobe, this is not one to watch either. You might notice there are spiders all over the place. They're kind of CGI spiders, but they're everywhere. And they're all different species. And they're just scampering everywhere. And he's going to die horribly. And in the process of dying, he knocks over all the cages and releases all the spiders. And they get out and go running around everywhere. Another feature of this movie, shown here, is it's one of Scarlett Johansson's early movies. Yes, Scarlett Johansson is a star here. And in this scene, Scarlett Johansson comes out of the shower wearing nothing but a towel, which I didn't care about. What I watched was the spider coming in through the window to get her. So yeah, you've got different reasons for watching this. There's our spider. You can see that's a good spider. Basically, you could tell that the people who made this movie, the art director or whoever, actually looked at a spider. They examined spider books and looked at photographs online or something, but they got a good general idea of what a spider is supposed to look like, with chelicerae hanging down and pedipalps and 8 legs and 8 eyes and all this. And the individual spiders maybe not necessarily taxonomically pure, but still, they look like spiders. So that's great. So yeah, and the computer graphics is a little clumsy. Thomas, you have your hand up. You have a question. You want to make a comment? You got to. I think you're muted.
Okay, sorry. I think
okay.
I accidentally hit the hand up thing, but I was going to mention there was some interesting little short, what do you call them? Sci-fi movies on Dust and a few other channels. One of them was called Spider Danger, Giant Spider. But the trailer
Uh-huh.
comes up and says the last day of Spider Planet. So
Okay.
I'll paste a link to that in the chat. How's that?
Very good.
That
Yes.
might work. It looks
Yes.
pretty. I mean, it came out January 20th, 2020. So
Right. And I should have mentioned that there is a fair number of, spider shorts and other movies that feature spiders. It's just that I just had this week to browse through them. So I just picked a couple of random ones and looked at them. So
oh
yeah,
yeah, I'm sure your time's a little limited.
we could spend months just watching spider movies.
Hell, we forgot Spider-Man. What about
Oh
that?
yes. Oh man, we should have talked about Spider-Man. Although he's not very that's not a horror movie. He's not very scary. Yeah.
No, yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, anyway, the CGI in this movie is fairly primitive. These are jumping spiders supposedly, and they do this jumping motion where they're just going to go like this. They just pick up the whole, the whole rendered spider, just make it hop across the landscape. It's kind of cheap, but okay, they still look like spiders. Another thing about this is the spiders kill a lot of people. What we're seeing here is a gang of a whole bunch of teenagers who are out having a good time on their motorcycles, and almost all of them get killed. It's just wholesale slaughter of all these teenagers in this small town. And one of the things I found kind of weird in this movie is they have funerals and they're mourning the old people who die, the few old people, but you wipe out the entire population of teenagers and nobody cares. Yeah, it just isn't mentioned. They're just all dead. Okay, so long. Yeah, they're making a lot of noise with their motorcycles after all. So yeah, I guess that's a reason to feel okay. Okay, so what can I say about this? Well, there's a wide range of sizes. There's small ones, there's big ones, there's large ones. There's bigger than human-sized ones. They're in a swarm. The cause of all this chaos is toxic waste. So we could say, hey, that's kind of a general ecological message, I guess, kinda. The accuracy is okay. They look like spiders, but taxonomically, they're not purely definable as a particular species. And then also it's kind of over the top. There's lots of murdered pets and teenagers in this movies. Also murdered old people. Everyone gets murdered. It's just kill all over the place. So it's you kind of get desensitized to it after a while. And then worst of all, they kill all the spiders at the end. Yeah, all the spiders go down into a mine that's full of methane gas, and they set it on fire, and kerboom, the mine blows up. And also the shopping mall on top of the mine. It's a very convenient shopping mall, which has access to a mine underneath. And they just blow everything up, and all the spiders die. Well, okay. Anyway, so there's my quickie review of, I think it was 7 different spider movies. Let's see, Thomas mentions a few in the chat. Yeah, I'll have to check these out. Spider Danger, Giant Spider, and oh, there's a YouTube video about spiders in Doctor Who. Okay, sure. All of those worth checking out. All right. So we got some comments here. But are spiders capable of murder? Killing, yes, but murder. Okay, well, that's a definitional issue. I mean, as a human being watching this, I was troubled by all the dead people in all of these and all the dead pets. Yeah, often in these movies, the first thing the spiders kill is their pets. Anyway, so they're all dead. That bothered me. And then as an arachnophile, it kind of bothered me that all the spiders eventually get murdered too. Are we going to say that it's not murder to murder spiders? Yeah. Okay, let's see. Brainbug loves huntsman spider. I do too. They're kind of cute, especially these are, what was this, the Avondale spiders, which is collected in New Zealand. And they're particularly flat. So they're a very flat spider and fairly good size. So that they're kind of nifty. Let's see, anything else? Oh, Zachary says, by far, this is the corniest. Yeah, the Eight-Legged Freaks is exceptionally corny. It's yeah. Yeah, the others have at least a veneer of seriousness. You're supposed to be scared by the spiders. And this one, no, this is just over the top laughs. So my wife also sat through, my poor long-suffering wife. She sat through these last two, Eight-Legged Freaks and Arachnophobia with me. And she kind of liked them both. But one of her comments about them was simply that they weren't scary, not scary at all. But then she's gotten kind of inured to spiders herself. So no, she wasn't bothered at all by any of this. So as far as being a scary Halloween movie, these were all flops as far as I'm concerned. They just didn't fit my definition of a scary movie. Okay, anyone else got things to chime in? Questions, comments? Let's see where it got from. Where did it go? Somehow, whoops. I just lost a key thing. Where did it go? I'm supposed to be controlling this and I went and lost my Zoom control. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I'm out of, am I out of Zoom now? I think I'm out of the blah, blah, blah. Okay, I think I'm good. Anyway, so anyone got anything to say? What's your favorite scary spider movie, if there is one? We need a horror movie featuring the Australian drop bear. Oh yeah, those are terrifying. Yes, I visited Australia and they kept warning me about these terrifying drop bears all over.
What do they do?
They drop on you.
Okay. Do they bite?
Well, they're entirely fictitious. They use them to scare tourists. So
I think the most terrifying spider I saw was, we were at a spider exhibit at the Cranbrook Institute in Michigan. Gosh, probably in the late 90s. But they had a spider there the size of a basketball. And the thing was huge. It's from South America, I believe.
this big?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the body was literally
Oh.
the size of a basket. It's huge. It's
okay.
apparently the largest
Yeah,
spider in the planet.
South America also has really venomous ones, like the Brazilian wandering spider is kind of a scary spider down there. So, yeah.
Well, if you remember the movie Bambi Meets Godzilla, I think they should have Charlotte meets Godzilla. Godzilla goes stomp, but Charlotte's so small, nothing happens, and she bites him in the foot, poisons him, and he dies.
Oh, better yet, he gets a local necrotic infection that spreads, and he dies of gangrene. Yes, that would be good. I'm all for that. Sure. Okay, we got a question from Zachary, and oh man, he donated $10. Thank you very much. He says, "Hey, PZ Myers, from an evolutionary psychologist point of view, why are we so fascinated with being spooked? If after all, fear is supposed to be negative to our survival and reproduction." first of all, I'm not an evolutionary psychologist, so don't ask me to give the evolutionary psychologist point of view. I would not like that. Okay, but I've got a student I've been working with this past couple of weeks. She's doing a capstone senior seminar thing on the whole business of anxiety and stress and whether it's good for you. And it's actually kind of interesting. So we were just looking at we were just studying the basolateral ganglia, which is a region of the brain that is responsible for assigning valence, emotional valence to a response. So what it's for is you get these strong responses to things, and they can either be negative or positive. And the basal ganglia, the amygdala can actually be retrained by experience to switch things back and forth. And so, for instance, I noted that I, for instance, greatly enjoy going to the dentist for some reason. I think it's kind of neat. I really like the whole sticking things in your mouth and drilling. I find it soothing and interesting. So what we have is a programmable brain that can respond in interesting ways to a variety of stimuli and can learn to respond in all kinds of different ways to the same stimulus. So, I think that's part of the story there. And then the other part of the story, I think, is you say, after all, fear is supposed to be a negative to our survival and reproduction. So why are we fascinated with it? It's because fear is something we should pay attention to, right? That we have to focus on what's happening around us. We have to learn from it. So we are often thrilled and fascinated by scary things. So it's a way to learn about them. So yeah, that seems perfectly reasonable to me, without even having to invoke evolutionary psychologists. That and just to throw in a third one is sensory stimuli can in themselves be kind of exciting and interesting. So there's a whole, you don't want to live a life that's just bland and boring, right? You want highs and lows. It makes life more enjoyable. And so fear is part of the lows. And then there's the bouncing back and feeling relieved after the fearful experience is over. Yeah, you're on a roller coaster. So and learn to enjoy that. No, my dentist does not have 8 legs. He's only got 2 legs and 2 arms. He may have been injured in childhood and lost a few. I don't know. Yeah, Phoenix Marine points out, being spooked gets our adrenaline going, tells us we're all alive and not numb. Yes. Yeah, that there are a lot of experiences we go through where it's getting amped up. It's the excitement. That's the good thing. And I think that goes for Halloween as well. Let's see, Brainbug says both Theraphosa and Heteropoda maxima can have leg span as big as a dinner plate. Yeah, I want some of those spiders. It's been a rough year and a half or so because of the stupid pandemic. And I'm just barely keeping myself going with the small spiders I raise. But I've got a terrarium all set up, and I'm planning to get a large spider, just for demonstration purposes. I should pick your brain sometime, Brainbug, because I really want to get something tarantula-like that isn't an endangered species, that isn't collected in the wild, but is bred by breeders, and that is fairly healthy and robust and can survive my ministrations. So yeah, maybe this summer I'll be looking into that. Okay, Thomas mentions base jumping and wingsuits. Yeah, and just parachuting in general. I am really not interested in that. That's a little too much of a thrill for me. Any other questions out there? Any questions about anything? Because otherwise I can wrap this up in the next few minutes. I really like to keep these under an hour. Don't want to wear out my welcome. Also, I have big plans for tonight. So tonight, the Morris Theater is showing Rocky Horror at midnight. Oh yeah, I think I'm going. I'm gonna measure my ability to stay conscious over the next hour or so. And if I'm alert enough, I'm gonna go and it's free.
Oh, see, there you go. Even better.
Yeah, so it's really worth the price of admission. But no, there was a time in my life when I was in college in the 70s after it came out where I probably went to Rocky Horror like half a dozen times a year.
Were
You know,
you
I
in Minneapolis or in Morris?
No, this was in Seattle.
Oh, in Seattle. Okay.
Yeah, it was very big in Seattle. And so we every once in a while you'd get an itch and you'd have to go scratch it by going to see Rocky Horror. And everyone would be there with their costumes and they'd be throwing their popcorn and they'd be, so that's,
I went to the one down in Uptown quite often. In the late 70s.
Right. Yeah. The only problem is I did that in the 70s too. And I'm a little bit older now, just a little. And I don't know how well I'm going to be able to handle staying up that late, but we'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
It's that or insomnia. I mean, you kind of go from one to the other.
Uh-huh.
So.
Yes, Washingtonians represent, says Phoenix Marine. I agree. Yeah, I have these wonderful memories of the Ave in the U District for the University of Washington. And there was a theater up on 45th, I think it was, that showed the Rocky Horror just about every weekend for years and years and years. So it was always available if I felt like it. And sometimes you just need to go see Rocky Horror. Zachary's getting tired. Yeah, I can't keep up much longer either. I'm gonna
Just a very quick question. Do you ever
Yeah.
make it to Minneapolis, St. Paul campus at all?
I do, but not lately, just because the pandemic is restricted.
Because of the pandemic. Right?
Yeah, but once we've got this under control, once all the idiots get vaccinated and start masking up and things like that, then I headed out to Minneapolis fairly regularly. I would get together for meetings of Minnesota atheists, for instance, or just go there for food, right? Morris has no restaurant options. We got one nice place, Stone's Throw Cafe. We've got a Mexican place. We've got a Chinese place that isn't very good, and that's it. That's really it. And sometimes I just like to get out to a good Korean restaurant, for instance.
We got the best one about a block from my house out here, Fridley's.
Oh, really?
That's what my Korean friends tell me.
Oh, yeah, we've been to a couple of Korean places in the Minneapolis area. I can't remember if that was the one.
The Mirror Korea. This one is King's. But
yeah. Oh, Charles Anthony. So you went to that theater on the 45th. Yeah, we probably passed each other in the night. Maybe I didn't recognize you in your fishnet stockings. I don't know. But,
let's do the time warp again.
Yeah. Yes, in Phoenix, Korean food rules. My daughter-in-law is Korean. We went to Korea for the wedding, and the food was just amazing. And yeah, so I need an excuse to get some more now and then. and also Thai food and Vietnamese food. Oh, there's a couple of Ethiopian restaurants in the U District that I really like too. So we have nothing like that in Morris.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to let you guys all off the hook, and I will talk to you all later.
Okay. Have a great
And-
Halloween. Have a great week.
Yes, everyone have a great Halloween. Have a good time tomorrow, and we'll see you around. I'll try to do something like this next week. Maybe it's time for another science meeting, not science discussion next week. Okay, so thanks for stopping by, everybody, and we will talk to you all later.
Thanks. Take it easy. Bye.
You too. Okay.